Okay, how does the dollar return on your cattle, say, compare to what you could make while using the land for other purposes? If you had a monoculture, for example, if you planted corn, like I'm very curious about the economics of this, because farming is famously a very low margin, high labor enterprise, very difficult enterprise. And so there's a variety of things you can do with land. And obviously many people plant massive monocultures and they use chemicals and they use chemical herbicides. And I'm not a priori critiquing that. You decided to go with cattle and chickens. And what else do you raise?
More than that, we went two things. One, we went multi-species. So we have cows, chickens, both meat and eggs, pigs, lamb, rabbit, duck. So multi-species.
Okay.
All right.
That's for the ponds, the ducks, I presume.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's for eggs and meat. That's a small. We won't do a lot of those. Our main is beef, pork, and chicken. I mean, that's our main. That's our main thing. Rabbit, duck, lamb. Those are all kind of peripheral things. But the other part of this is that we elected to direct market.
Yeah. Okay.
And so remember, Dad was an accountant, and he understood very early on that as a small farm, the commodity margin, the commodity business. The whole goal is to become the least cost producer.
Yeah, at high scale.
At high scale.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
Right.
And as a small farm, he understood we can't compete at that. So I'm sure you've heard farmers say, well, the middleman makes all the money.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's typical for many enterprises.
Exactly. So he realized, well, in order for us to compete, to actually make a living on this small farm, we need to become a middleman.
Yeah.
We need to own that. So basically, the retail dollar is divided into producer, processor, marketer, distributor. Those four basic.
Say that again. Producer, farmers,
processor, marketer, and distributor.
Right. The marketer is the one who lets everybody know that the products exist, which is very important.
Yes.
And then the last one
is distributor.
Right. Of course.
So it's got to get to the retail interface somehow, okay? So the retail dollars divided those four ways in different commodities. There are different, rate percentages in each of those four categories, but
and tremendous competition between them.
Yes, tremendous competition. The farmer, there's only one part of that is subject to what I call the four horsemen of the apocalypse, which is weather, price, pestilence, and disease.
Right.
That's production.
Right. So he takes all the risks in the natural world. He takes all the risks. Yeah.
Whereas, when the grasshoppers come, they don't eat the tires on your delivery vehicle. When the drought comes, it doesn't eliminate your Wi-Fi connection to your customers. So these other three, the processing, marketing, and distribution, are relatively immune from weather, price, pestilence,
they're
and
also
disease.
not dependent on any single farmer.
That's right. That's right.
So their risk is distributed.
That's right. So we began... when we headed into this, we established a direct marketing persona. Eventually became our brand, Polyface, Polyface, Polyface Farm of Many Faces. That became our brand, and we now sell to restaurants, institutions, boutique groceries. We ship nationwide. We have a farm store. We direct sell into about 35 drop points in the urban sector around Northern Virginia, D.C., Richmond, Virginia Beach, Williamsburg.
And those drop? Tell me about those.
Urban drop points.
Farmers markets or
no?
These are what?
We're not involved in any farmers markets.
Oh, you're not. So
and I'm not opposed to farmers markets.
Yeah.
But I just don't think, in general, they're not a very efficient interface because they're primarily social circles.
Yeah,
they're primarily social clubs.
Relatively low volume, I would presume.
Yeah, because
so they're like a boutique product.
Because most of the people who go are there to show their support of local food and assuage their guilt from taking their
and have a nice day at the farmer's market.
And show off their newly coifed little poodle dog, that they had done.
Right.
And so they can only buy a little baby food jar with a pink ribbon on it of kimchi or some special thing. They're not buying bushels of green beans or bushels of apples or things. And so we just found farmers markets a very inefficient
How did
retail
you build your
interface.
customer network?
So-
That's work, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. We spend as much time marketing as we do the entire farm production.
Yeah, well, marketing's such a funny enterprise because people, first of all, it's not even named very well because what you're doing when you're a marketer, really what you are is a communicator and
Yes.
a network builder.
Yes.
And, you know, people say things like, well, if you build a better mousetrap, the world will beat a path to your door. And that's a lie.
You're
because
absolutely
It's just
right.
not true
Yeah.
because first of all, it isn't obvious they want a better mousetrap, and they're pretty set in their mousetrap habits. And plus, they don't know your damn mousetrap exists, and they actually don't care. And so, you know, one of the things that shocked me when I started making consumer products, which was like 30 years ago, was, see, because I thought I'd invented this process with my colleagues that help people identify and hire more effective employees. And the first error I made was thinking that large companies actually cared about that, which they don't at all, which is quite a shock. They say they do, but they actually don't when it comes down to it. But more than that, I also realized that if you have something new, that's actually a risk and not an advantage because most people are so risk averse, they won't try anything new. They want to know that many other people are using this and haven't died because of it. And then no one knows your damn product exists. And so I would say for the average enterprise, you tell me what you think about this with regard to your enterprise, the product is 5% of the problem and communication about the product is 90% of the problem. I know that leaves 5% for noise, but like it's exactly the opposite of what most people would think.
That's
Marketing
right.
is
That's right.
communication and it really matters. So you guys figured that out.
Messaging is everything. So, and the messaging always has to be in terms of the possible buyer.
Right.
In other words,
yes.
it's not about you.
No, not at all.
It's about their need.
Yeah.
Describing their
What's
need.
their problem?
What's their need? What can I fix for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a hard thing when I'm not like my normal consumer.
Right, definitely.
I have a big garden. I walk out the back door. I've got eggs. I've got cows. I've got
so you don't even exist in the landscape where the problem.
Exactly. So for me, I almost have to get into some sort of a yin position or something to okay.
How do I think when I don't have these things?
How do I think like my consumer, like my customer
Very
thinks?
difficult, yeah.
Very, very difficult. But when you can get into that position, you can absolutely message it.
Okay, well, tell me how you guys did that. And I'd like to know more about the details of your network. You talked about many inroads for sales.
So remember when we started, so I came back to the farm full time September 24, 1982. Okay, 1982. I left. I was a reporter, an investigative reporter at the local newspaper for 2.5 years after college. So so here now I'm wanting to come back to the farm full time. And now I'm working in town. Trying to how do I come back to the farm full time? Teresa and I got married. We remodeled the attic of the old farmhouse. We didn't call it the attic. We called it our penthouse, and we lived we drove a $50 car, lived on $300 a month. And within 2 years, we were able to save enough that we could live for 1 year without an income. And so September 24, 1982, I walked out of the office. I didn't think we'd make it.
Why the hell was your wife on board with this? Like, why did she think?
Because
this
I
was a
married
good
the
idea?
greatest gal in the world, man. I mean, she is the ultimate home economist. She cans 800 quarts of stuff a summer. She can sew clothes, make.
I see. She
she's
was
just the
interested in
ultimate-
doing all of that.
Oh yeah. I mean, she thought I was pretty sharp.
No, but you were working
think she still does.
You were working as a reporter, and she was working as what?
Well, we had Daniel, so she worked at a fabric store for a little bit, clerking. But Daniel came very early, and so she stayed at home, and I'm working at the newspaper.
Okay, but both of you wanted to go have a farm life.
Oh yeah.
Why
very
did
much.
she want that? I mean, did she come from a farming background?
She wanted to be with me.
Okay. Oh, well, fair enough.
I mean, is that fair enough?
But did she come back? Yeah, but still,
she grew up on a farm.
Okay. So she had some familiarity with that.
Yeah.
Okay, and she'd bought into the idea that you had put forward, and she was enthusiastic about, because that's important. I mean, you want your wife to be seriously on board with this. This is hard work.
The single biggest reason farms fail is contradictory visions of husband and wife.
Well, that's probably the biggest reason marriage fails, all things considered. But I can see it being particularly acute with a project like this, because it's all consuming.
You don't go to work every day. You're with each other.
Yeah.
And so those that.
And you've got the four horsemen of the apocalypse nipping at your heels all the time.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So I came back to the farm full time. Now I'm there.
82, right?
In 82. And it took us 3 years, Jordan, until we could. So I say, we could exhale. I think we're going to make it. It took us 3 years.
Yeah.
But that little.
Well, that's not too bad to start a new business.
No, that's right.
I mean,
that's right.
A lot of new businesses fail. And the first part of it, when you're not making any money and you've got no network.
That's right.
What do they say? Getting from 0 to 1, that's very hard.
That's right.
1 to 2 is still hard. 2 to 3 is getting a little better.
Yeah. But 10 to 11 is a lot easier.
Yeah, right.
So what I did at that time, fortunately, I was blessed with and have been blessed with a bit of a gift of gab communication. I'm an extrovert, and in high school, college, I did interscholastic, intercollegiate debate. I've got a room full of debate trophies, and did theater, drama, plays, public speaking, all that. I didn't do the athletic thing. I was not. I was a late bloomer. The best thing that ever happened to me was getting cut from the 7th grade basketball team. My mother was a health and phys ed teacher, so she was extremely athletic. My older brother was very athletic, and here I come along. Well, I've got to be athletic, right? In order, you got to join the family brand after all. And so I'm a pudgy, 14-year-old, late bloomer. And I get cut from the 7th grade baseball team. I get cut from the 8th grade basketball team. In other words, I don't make the teams. Not I'm on the team and get cut. I mean, I didn't even make the tryouts. Okay, didn't make it. And I remember like yesterday in 8th grade, looking and not seeing my name on that roster, and making a mental decision. Okay, athletics is done. I'm a great communicator. I win spelling bees. I win speaking contests. I'm going to put all my attention on that. So I tell kids, I say, you be thankful for what you fail at early, because that helps you determine your path in life.
Are you tired of being held back by one-size-fits-all healthcare? Or having your concerns dismissed or being denied the comprehensive lab work you need to truly understand your health? I want to tell you about Merrick Health, the premier health optimization platform that's revolutionizing how we approach wellness and longevity. What sets Merrick apart isn't just their cutting-edge diagnostic labs or concierge health coaching, it's their commitment to treating you as an individual. Their expert clinical team stays at the forefront of medical research, creating personalized, evidence-based protocols that evolve with you. Unlike other services that rely on cookie-cutter solutions, Merrick Health goes the extra mile. They consider your unique lifestyle, blood work, and goals to craft recommendations that actually work for you, whether that's through lifestyle modifications, supplementation, or prescription treatments. And with a remarkable 4.9 out of 5 rating on Trustpilot, you know you're in great hands. The best part is you can get 10% off your order today. Just head to merrickhealth.com and use code Peterson at checkout. That's merrickhealth.com, code Peterson for 10% off. Stop guessing and start optimizing your health today with Merrick Health, because your best life starts with your best health.
Well, there's another issue there that you're highlighting that's extremely relevant with regard to our discussion of marketing. It's like one of the things that people don't understand, and this might be more true of people who, like, let's say, have an interest in practical matters like trades or even engineering. It's like, well, why do I need to be fluent in my communication? Why do I need to write? Why do I need to learn to speak? It's like, well, if 75% of your business problem is communication, and it certainly is.
Yes.
Right? What are you selling? What do you have to offer? How do you talk to people so you find out what
for
they
your
need?
employees?
That's right. How do you negotiate? How do you make contracts? All of that. It's like there isn't anything more worthwhile than you can learn to do than how to get command of the language. And that's so interesting in your situation because you might think, well, that might be true except for farming. Now, I know you shouldn't think that, but it's just not true.
No.
Because communication is so crucial.
The people who communicate lead their professions.
Right.
Across the board.
Right,
across the board.
Exactly.
And
That's a great
I have
rule.
moms come up to me with their little, 10-year-old in tow. My son wants to be a farmer, or daughter wants to be a farmer. What would you suggest to them? I say, find your local amateur theater group, enroll them.
Right.
Get them.
So counterintuitive.
Yes,
eh?
and they look at me like, yeah. I say, become a storyteller.
Yeah.
Become a storytellers are what changed the world.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right.
And so we obviously 82. This is before computers, before internet, any of this stuff. And so we basically did a 3-prong approach. I put together a slide program. The old Kodak carousel. A slide projector.
Yeah.
And at that time, every city had a very vibrant kind of philanthropic, Rotary Club, Ruritan, Kiwanis.
Elks,
Toastmasters, Elks, Moose, right? All these, and they do weekly or monthly dinner meetings, and they're always looking for an interesting program. And so I put together a carousel program, how we can heal the planet with pasture-based livestock, and it was the beginning of this.
This was when did you do this?
In 82.
Oh yeah, so okay.
All right. So this was just the beginning. Tom Brokaw, Peter Jennings were just beginning to once in a while put in a tidbit about cow burps, and there was just the beginning of this kind of demonization of livestock. And so anyway, I put this together, and at the end I would say, now if you'd like to participate in this, I'll be glad to add your name to our customer list. You'll get a newsletter and order blank, and we can, and each one of those would yield 2, 3, 4 people. So that was one thing I did. The second thing that
so that's also something that we shouldn't skip over lightly. So I think the most valuable guy, I have millions of social media followers, and I don't know how many, 20 million, lots.
Right.
The most valuable of all the things we own are our